For this problem, you'll notice it's a little different because we have more than one word cosine. So to solve 2 cosine squared x plus square root of 3 cosine x, we're going to do a little trick. And we're going to have to use one of our F words. We're going to have to factor. Now, I find that it's difficult to factor if we're looking at the words cosine. So I like to turn cosine into the letter C. So we're going to have c squared plus square root of 3c is equal to 0. And when I change that cosine into a c, I find that a lot of my students have a much easier time factoring this. So how would I factor out the letter c here? Well, I just pull it to the front. So I have c times 2c plus the square root of 3 is equal to 0. Now, if this was just the letter c, like the letter x, how would I solve this? Well, I'd set each factor equal to 0. So c is going to equal 0, and 2c plus the square root of 3 is going to equal 0. So a quick solve will give me that c is equal to 0, and c is equal to negative square root of 3 over 2. But remember, this wasn't a c at the very beginning. This is a cosine. So we actually have 2 equations to solve here. Cosine of theta is equal to 0, and cosine of theta is negative square root of 3 over 2. Now we can go to our unit circle and ask ourselves, where is the cosine 0? Well, cosine sine, that's going to happen at pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. So the answer to this first part is theta is equal to pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. But we also need to know where is cosine equal to negative square root of 3 over 2. So that is going to happen at 5 pi over 6 and 7 pi over 6. So we get 2 more answers for the second part. So theta is 5 pi over 6 and 7 pi over 6. So how many answers did we get to this problem using factoring? There are 4. Let's try one more of those. This one looks kind of similar. We need to start by factoring. The easiest way to do that is to start by changing all of these signs into the letter S and seeing how we're going to factor this. So everyone has a different approach to factoring when A is not 1. My approach is to use the guess and check method. So what are 2 numbers that multiply to 2? Well, that's 2 and 1, so we'll put those as 2s and 1s. What are 2 numbers that multiply to negative 1? Well, that's 1 and 1. And then I need to kind of experiment where to put my plus and minus. So I'll put the plus and minus here, and I'll check the outside and plus the insides. So I have a negative 2s plus 1s. That is negative 1s, like our middle term. So this is properly factored. Now we set each factor equal to 0. And we get that s is going to be equal to negative 1/2, and s is going to be equal to 1. But remember, these weren't s's, these were sines. So sine of theta has to equal negative 1/2, or sine of theta can equal 1, and both will solve our question. So let's start with the sine of theta equals negative 1/2. Cosine sine, we want our y value to be a negative 1/2. That is going to be at 7 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. So there's our first 2 answers. And then sine of theta is equal to 1, cosine sine. Where is sine equal to 1? Well, that is going to happen at pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. So we get 2 more answers. And we have 4 answers for our final answer here. So when you see more than one trig function, like sine squared and sine, or cosine squared and cosine, or tangent squared and tangent, or anything like that, begin by factoring and then move on from there.